So, who is the best wrestler in the world? Don't want to ruin this video or our lives, but actually it is going to change every single day. It all really depends on what wrestling you enjoy. Also, some housekeeping before we begin. This list has been put together by Team What Culture, but because I'm presenting, I have made a few switcheroos, and obviously, when I wake up tomorrow, my mind will have completely changed, because that's just how the wrestling world works. Otherwise, my name is Simon Miller. I appreciate you stopping by. Otherwise, these are the 50 best wrestlers in the world. Important 2 words. Right now. Number 50, Sheamus. Now, I actually think Sheamus could be way higher up this list, but at the moment he has kind of just settled into, I suppose, mid-card role in WWE, and that does have to factor in. Once again, that's just how your brain works. If all of a sudden somebody's in the main event, you start going, well, that guy is the best. You cannot look past the Irishman, though, and I implore you to go and watch the recent interviews he has been doing. Not only does this guy love the grappling, but it even says, I'm gonna punch you as hard as I can in the face while also protecting you, but damn it, I expect you to punch me back even harder. It's why his matches are bangers, obviously, to use his word, and ultimately, when it comes to Sheamus, we are going to miss him when he's gone. He has always been underrated, and he is just a joy. Like when I put my tush in a chair, and I know I'm about to watch a Sheamus back, I'm like, damn it, I'm gonna have a good time. And that's all I want from wrestling, and at some point, he will win that Intercontinental Championship, which means he's basically won every single thing he could possibly want to in WWE. You gotta tick that box. Number 49, Adam Cole. Now, yes, this is gonna be one that creates some controversy, but don't worry, there's a lot more entries like that too. What we have to remember is that Adam Cole is coming back from an injury where he basically had another man's foot put into his foot, which is the daftest sentence I'll ever say, and he still went out there and he's still performing in a way that makes you go, well, how the flub is he doing this? I also totally think once we do settle back into things and everything does calm down, he is going to remind everyone why there was one point a few years ago where you could have argued that Adam Cole was in the number 1 position. That's how damn good he was. He basically reinvented NXT. I don't know what that means. Now, I do admit maybe I'm breaking the rules a little bit here, because a lot of this is based on past experiences, but I just think you give it a few months, and Mr. Adam is going to be reminding us why he is of this level. Also, he knows how to cut a promo, he can play good guy, he can play bad guy. Just needs to find his way again, and I totally believe he can do it. But at the same time, do I go out of my way to watch Adam Cole matches? Yes. Yes, I do. Number 48, Daniel Garcia. So one day, my friends, I will tell you Daniel Garcia will be way higher up this list. And given he was basically making his way for the first time ever when he first joined AEW, my gosh, has he ticked loads of boxes on his CV. He can play good guy, he can play bad guy, he is a phenomenal technical wrestler, and of course he has that weird dance he used to do, which means he's embraced the way of sports entertainment. He really is excellent in the ring as well, which is why when his contract was up in 2024, the rumor was AEW wanted to re-sign him. WWE was like, man, we'll take you on too. One day he'll probably end up there, because that's just how wrestling works. I think Garcia's ultimate play at the moment is that nothing that he does looks neat, and it looks like he's kicking your ass, which is probably why Bryan Danielson saw a lot of him. He had that sort of magic too. So as mentioned, there is more to come, and again, at the moment, as the TNT champion, his feuds kind of come and go, but he absolutely deserves a place here. It is really, really good. Number 47, Montez Ford. So actually, I do think you could probably throw Angelo Dawkins in here as well, which makes this damn list really tough, but ultimately, every time people watch a Montez Ford performance, you see it on the internet especially, they're a bit like, why isn't WWE pushing this guy more? You do have to shout out Angelo, because I think he heard some of this criticism and was like, man, I'll show you. And he got way better. And that's why when the Street Profits do eventually break up, it is not going to be a rocker situation. WWE could easily get behind both of them. And now that we have arrived here, don't forget Marty Jannetty didn't get to the top of the company because he was a bad wrestler. It's because in his personal life, he was a total lunatic. When it does come to Montez, though, he does have all the makings of a top star. I mean, just go and watch his hot tag when he's flying all over the place. And those dives that he does, you can get mad at dives, given that it is 2025, but if you were going to rank them, Ford would be right up there. I just think Montez Ford totally gets it, which is a massively important part of this business. But he needs more mic time. Maybe that could nudge him further up this list. I think this man can talk as well. He just needs to have more opportunities to do so. Number 46, Dragon Lee. So Dragon Lee is brilliant. He's also a lucha wrestler that has managed to find consistent time on WWE TV. Trust me, when you go back in time, that is a rarity. Now maybe it comes down to where he is on the card at the moment, but at the end of the day, his performances are always good. And I would hazard a guess that if he was put in a bigger feud or he was put in a bigger match, all of a sudden those same performances would become very good, and the grading and the curve will continue to increase. And yes, sure, look, it is fair to say that he did get a little bit lost given that he was inserted in the LWO. But if you kind of remove all of that and push it to one side, and you just watch his fundamentals and how effortless he flies around the place, well, I don't understand how anybody couldn't enjoy it. It really comes down to the fact that few could do what Dragon Lee does do. This is another one. All of a sudden the story does present itself, and he is able to light a fire under all of this. I think you would see something very special indeed. Also, his mask is really cool. It all counts. But 45, Hechicero. Now I'll make it very clear the majority of this list is focusing on WWE and AEW just because these are the wrestlers that we are most well versed in. But when it comes to Hechicero, I tell you, this guy is amazing. Because not only is he a top tier technical wrestler, but at the same time when you're watching him, you're like, oh my gosh, he's a total psychopath. I mean, it's a bit like you took Bryan Danielson and John Moxley and just smashed them together, and his submission game is so good, when his opponents get out of these moves, you're like, wow, the opponent must be really good. I mean, just go watch his 2024 match with Zack Sabre Jr. to get a little taste of this. I don't even know what you'd call it. I mean, it is wrestling. It's like wrestling from a different planet. Now, obviously, when it comes to American style, you have to get your character over. Maybe that's where he falls down. But if one day he can figure this out, and somebody does give him a push, there is absolutely something under that hood. Number 44, Nathan Frazier. Now, we all wanted to make sure some random people got in here too, but also ones that absolutely deserving. Seriously, when you sit down and think about it, can anyone actually do what Nathan Frazier does? Because often these days, if you are a flippy wrestler, you get thrown in with all the other flippy wrestlers. But I think Nathan deserves way more credit than that. Also, how the flub does he move so damn fast? Now, once again, there's a huge argument here that we should be talking about Axiom 2, because Fraxium together are one of the best tag teams on the planet. But I guess, we're going to have to make choices here and there. But honestly, you can go and watch any Nathan Frazier match and you walk away going, well, I had a really good time, and that dude is super duper exciting. Definitely don't do this. There's also a magic to that partnership as well, because that's why I think their talking shines. Like, neither guy cuts traditional promos, but because they have such good chemistry together, well, it's sort of like watching siblings squabble. And I tell you, man, there's something to it. Now, so many people worry that when he does get called up to the main roster, he would be another one that gets lost in the shuffle. But sometimes the cream rises to the top. And if anybody's got a chance to take that idea and throw it down the toilet, it's Nathan Frazier. Number 43, Jay White. What an exceptional professional wrestler Jay White is. I mean, the man always works a match like he's trying to win. And in the weeks leading up to it, he just sat down there and he watched some tape. Go back and check out his Wrestle Dream match with Hangman Adam Page. That is Exhibit A. He's also got his character down and can cut a promo when he needs to, but also sometimes that lines up with where he is placed in the card. So if he is in a mid-card feud, you get a pretty good promo. Then when he's in the main event, well, you get a main event one. He will always be of benefit to any roster though, and once again, I bet when his contract is up, everybody is going to be shouting at him. But I suppose you could call him a situational wrestler, though I don't think that's a negative thing at all. That is the way a show should be structured. Jay White is never bad though, and it's been an absolute delight that recently he has been near the top of the AEW card. And did he let anybody down? No, he did not. In fact, he's been doing a terrific job. Also, again, we're talking about right now, but if you need a bit more of this sauce, go and watch his IWGP run. That is some flubbing good stuff. Number 42, Brody King. And Buddy Matthews, we're doing it again, where you have to choose. Then you wake up in the middle of the night, you're like, damn it, it's just not right. But if we are going to talk about Brody King, well, he's just great, isn't he? And I truly think if he went on a bit of a mini run and he challenged for the World Championship, everybody would believe it. I mean, look at it. Brody is also way more than you think when you first see him. Because sure, he can get in the ring and man, meet your ass up, which is the worst sentence I'll ever say, but he also has this other side to him when he just comes across like an absolute mountain. Get the best of both worlds. But really, yeah, going back to that idea, the only criticism I can come up with, given how he does present himself, is that he loses too much. Honestly, if that is your bad side of your game, you're doing all right. It still feels to me he should be treated like an end-of-level boss, but that is the same for Buddy Matthews. And ever since they've been doing this Hounds of Hell stuff without Malachi Black, well, they are just tremendous. Also, they can have good matches with anybody. Once again, you need some guys on your roster that are just going to hit home runs. Bingo bango. Number 41, Kazuchika Okada. So Okada can go anywhere in this list that you want because let's face it, if we do take his career as a whole, he is quite genuinely one of the best wrestlers of all time. And look, sure, he may not be your cup of tea, but if you were going to sit down with a checklist about what makes a superstar, well, he ticks like 9.79 of them. And the only reason he does come in at number 41 is because, once again, we are talking about right now, Okada is just kind of chilling, but more power to that guy, because he's earned it. And also his character is probably the most divisive thing in the world. He can still turn it on whenever he wants, as we've seen against the likes of Will Ospreay, Bryan Danielson, and Pac. But given that he often shouts bitch too, some fans get so mad, and they've kind of downgraded Okada. So once again, we're trying to take everybody's opinions into account. If you care what I think, I love this version of the Rainmaker. It may actually be my favorite one. He makes me laugh. To me, that just adds so much more because you know he can kill you in the ring, but now he can also kill you with a smile. And look, eventually he will be going after the AEW World Championship, and you will get New Japan Okada, to the point if we do another of these in a year or so, and that is happening, well, he's probably flubbing being number 1. Number 40, Mark Briscoe. So Mark Briscoe is just one of the realest dudes walking around in wrestling right now. And as soon as he does have a match, or he's finished the match, you can't help but love it. He's also terrifically underpushed, which I guess puts him in the same bracket as Okada. If all of a sudden he was going after a top-tier title, he too would zoom up this list because he's so good and he makes you feel things, man. Once again, that's the whole point of wrestling. It's also the same with his promos, because Mark Briscoe can be funny, he can be entertaining, he can be endearing, and he can make you cry. Men should be going after Oscars. So I suppose once again this is limited to where he is on the card. But if I know he is having a match, I would always go out of my way to watch Mark Briscoe. He's only like just turned 40 years old, and he still has had this incredible career. Which begs the question, where the hell is it going to go next? Number 39, Ilya Dragunov. So we have kind of gone 3 for 3 here because we all know how great Ilya Dragunov is. Sadly though, he did miss the second half of 2024 and he missed the start of 2025. So while he is just going to return and absolutely light up the place we are talking about right now, there's a big glaring hole in the middle of this. You just know he's instantly going to be an asset for WWE because the way he uses his body to generate sympathy, well, you've been there, I've been there, I bet his family's been there. You're watching his matches going, excuse me, I think he's about to die. And yes, I think WWE is still trying to find his place on the main roster, but of course he will be going after Intercontinental or US Championship soon. Do you remember his NXT UK title run? That was the most roller coaster thing ever, because it did get you right in the tum-tum. Pretty sure we're just gonna repeat that. I mean, the fact we can stand here right now and be like, oh my gosh, imagine he did have a bout with Jacob Fatu and get excited in our Tootsie Toes. Well, that's the power of Ilya, and the power of how good he is. He hasn't even been around, but everybody felt like he should be in it. Number 38, Pac. So we are just on a roll now, because we can kind of take elements from these last 3 guys. In many ways, Pac is the best wrestler in the world. But even though there was a time when people were like, I can't cut a promo, Pac just started to shoot these videos where he cut one hell of a promo. I know it wasn't traditional, but he was talking about evil spirits, he was in a darkened room, he kept calling himself a bastard. When he was dying, you're like, oh yeah, that guy is super duper whooper tough. I genuinely think he is one of the best sellers in the universe too, and you can put him up against anyone and people get excited for it. Like if AEW announced Pac versus my grandma, you'd be like, yeah, I'm gonna tune in. Especially me, she's been dead for a while. Biggest placement in this list comes down to the fact that he is a part of the Death Riders at the moment, and while that adds some serious depth to the group, on occasion, he can kind of just vanish into the background. Anybody would want him though, and it is totally mad that when he was Neville in WWE, they treated him like they did. Today, I promise you, my friends, it would be a totally different story. Number 37, Obafemi. So you mark my words, if this does become a regular thing, one day, Obafemi will be number 1. It is absolutely incredible he has come so far so fast, and I don't care about all the other things we spew when we're talking about this list. It comes down to one simple fact again. If I know Obafemi is going to be on my television, guess where I am? Watching my television. That just makes him the best wrestler you can ever want to be, and why do you think the people in NXT made him the world champion so fast? Because they looked at him and they were like, oh my gosh, you tick every single box. We gotta make sure we light a fire under your ass. He will main event WrestleMania one day, and I will grow my hair back if I'm wrong. Trust me, you don't want that. And the best thing about Oba is as soon as he walks to the ring, you can't help but go, Well, that guy gets it, and he's probably going to smash someone. So he has got that big aura, man, and that is what WWE is all about at the moment. I don't think I could be a bigger fan, and yet he's only going to get better from here. Number 36, Jon Moxley. So these days, or right now, this man has proven to be controversial. You probably quite like that. Now, you cannot fault Jon Moxley when it comes to his in-ring performance, because there are a few other wrestlers on this planet that give as much as he does. I mean, you can feel his passion, and often it is spilling out of his head looking like blood. Again, though, wrestling is about what is happening right now. In this Death Rider storyline, well, you have some people that are waiting and seeing, and you have other people that have gone, well, I used to like Mox, but in terms of this narrative, it's not for me. More power to you. That doesn't take away from the fact that Mox is still an excellent ass kicker and is kind of terrifying, but he is trying to present himself as a mega threat at the moment. For some reason, on some AEW televisions, he feels like less of a threat. I mean, 2 + 2 = potato. Moxley will always be super legit though, and again, at one point, AEW was basically building their reputation off his back. He's just in an odd place at the moment, but trust me, it's Jon Moxley. Everything is going to work out okay. Number 35, Chad Gable. So if we were just talking about in-ring performance, I think you could probably take Chad Gable and smack him at number 1. Because while it is a bit unfair that we did continue to compare him to Kurt Angle, if anybody was going to come close, it was him. And how mean was it when we called him Shorty G and made him dress like this? That should be a criminal offense. Him leading American Made has been perfect too, because his character's been allowed to shine through as well, because he's such a good heel. And you may be going, oh, why is he only 35? Which is a fair point, but we're still calling him the 35th best wrestler in the world right now. I mean, it's probably his placement on the card that isn't allowing him to get higher, at least in our brains. But who wouldn't want to use this guy? He's another one. It's Chad Gable versus a broom, to go with the old cliche. The broom would probably win, which is a little bit of an error we should talk about too. He's also having bangers with everyone like the Wyatts, Penta, and Otis, and while they are awesome talents in their own right, the glue holding it all together and just making it a little bit better, well, it's flipping Chad Gable. He will definitely win the IC or US Championship eventually, and from there, well, the world is going to be his oyster. Number 34, Orange Cassidy. Good grief, I just love him so much. He's the best, especially because he did this while proving a lot of people wrong. Now, I am slightly worried my prediction that he will become AEW World Champion may be dead these days. That's only because he was so damn good, we kept putting him in World Title Championship predicaments. Very sadly, the piece of fruit never won it. The reason we did that, though, is because he just kept putting in the work and he got over with the crowd time and time again. Do you remember when he had that match with Jon Moxley and he was doing those 2.999 kickouts that made you go, oh my gosh, Orange Cassidy is going to win? How can anybody hate this guy? This is something that's going to send everybody crazy, but in many ways, his gimmick is like a modern-day Undertaker. What I mean by that is that his personality was so damn good, well, you didn't even need to give him a championship, because Orange by himself was enough. He's also one of the best fire-up wrestlers you could hope to see when he is making his big comeback. Well, as you can probably tell, I am just a big, big fan. 33, Roxanne Perez. Do you remember when NXT turned Roxanne Perez bad guy and everyone was like, she can't play a heel? Well, we were all totally wrong. A walking billboard for what you were able to achieve in NXT. Roxanne not only had a great championship run as a good guy, but then she did it as a bad guy too. And honestly, on day one, her wrestling was good enough, but the amount of tools she's added to her belt is quite frankly ridiculous. You also saw this develop in real time, which made it such a treat and reminded you why NXT exists to begin with. And listen, she has been main roster for a while, and while we may need a few tweaks just to make sure she settles in on Raw and SmackDown, it is going to be so damn effortless. And listen, if we do this again in 2026, at that point she probably would have been a Raw or SmackDown Women's Champion. So Roxanne is absolutely somebody else that is probably going to be main eventing major pay-per-views one day, and that's tremendous. Also, she uses her size to her advantage as well, which just proves she's got the brain too. But yeah, just to summarize it up in a nice little package, Roxanne Perez, probably going to be one of those generational talents. Number 32, Jacob Fatu. So let's keep that idea going, because Jacob Fatu is another one. You really don't think he's going to headline a WrestleMania one day? I think the potential is there. He was given one of the best WWE debuts in recent memory and a monster push, but do not forget, that has happened time and time again to other individuals, and they weren't able to hang. That is not the case with Jacob. He's a bit like the monster. The more you feed him, the better he seems to get. I mean, just think how fast he has taken all of this on. He just keeps on evolving. So he is going to win mid-tier titles, he is going to win world titles, and the whole time people are just going to get into his shtick even more. As I'm not 100% sure Jacob Fatu remembers that wrestling isn't work. 9 times out of 10 when you do think that way, well, you go on to become a little bit of a legend. Also, he's another one. I just want to see him on my TV all of the time. He's got the Poochie effect. Number 31, Julia. So never forget that Julia won the NXT Women's Championship really fast, because mostly WWE were using NXT as just a way to allow her to acclimatize to American life. Because they knew they ain't stupid, she's main roster ready. There were some naysayers as well who were like, oh, she's not going to be able to do WWE style, but she basically got rid of those criticisms on day one. And maybe there was a few weeks where she had to re-find her confidence, which makes all the sense in the world. She had moved across the globe, but as soon as she had done that, man, what a damn treat to watch. And yeah, sure, the promos may take a little bit longer, but at the same time, when she is barking at someone in Japanese, you're like, oh my gosh, Julia's about to kill someone, and it's all about the way it makes you feel. We've already talked about it. So here's another prediction I will throw at you. Eventually, we will get to some major pay-per-views, and Julia will be having a match, and we'll all sit around going, oh my gosh, I'm so excited, because I know I'm about to get a home run before. Number 30, Jordynne Grace. I mean, talk about hustle, because Jordynne Grace built her persona. She joined TNA soon after she performed at All In, and because she got so damn good, one day the WWE rang her up and said, hey, we think you should be in the Royal Rumble. A lot of the time as well, this was happening under the radar. I mean, go back a few years and watch some of her knockout matches. There's some really, really good stuff in there. Grace is also totally unique because it looks like she can murder you, but she also has a dangerous factor to her. Again, go back and watch her first appearance in the Royal Rumble. When she is making that entrance, everyone's a bit like, I'm a bit worried she's about to rip my head off. Her run as the TNA Women's Champion as well was just about having banger after banger, and that's her MO now. If you set her up in any kind of a bout, she is going to totally smash it. Now, as I am talking to you, it does feel like she's about to embark on an NXT run, but just watch where it does go from here. The only place is up. Number 29, Bron Breakker. And this dude is sort of the same. Now, he has been pretty well tested ever since he has arrived on Raw, because he won the Intercontinental Championship, then he lost the Intercontinental Championship, and then he won it back again when he just went on to have all these great matches. And now I get excited when I see his name. I've got a problem. Ever since he did win that second championship too, there has been no stopping him. And I mean that literally too. Don't forget that he hits the ropes at like 23 miles an hour, whatever it is. Michael Cole feels the need to tell us that every single time. Although I do get it. If I can hit the ropes that fast, I'd wear it on a t-shirt. So Bron Breakker really is the walking definition of meant to do this. And it's those Steiner genes, man. Somehow they are just brilliant when it comes to pro wrestling. And this is just the start too. We've talked about Jacob Fatu already. Can I see Fatu versus Breakker as a WrestleMania main event? You bet your ass. I really enjoy his promos as well because he has a no-nonsense attitude. And ultimately, if we were gonna break it down, I just find him so entertaining. We've said it a few times now. That's the whole reason I watch. Number 28, Stephanie Vaquer. I mean, we have put her below Julia or above Julia, depending on how you look at this. But man, you can interchange them or wiggle them around a little bit. Basically, it's exactly the same journey. She just gets it. I mean, if there were any doubts about what Stephanie Vaquer brought to the table, that was thrown out the window almost instantly. And it's just the presence she has. But at the moment, she is getting acquainted with WWE style and the WWE audience. But this is somebody that we should revisit in 5 years' time. If you think she's gonna be big, well, yeah, she is. Just how gargantuan can she become? I think the answer is going to be pretty damn scary. Number 27, Becky Lynch. Now, yes, Becky Lynch could be well higher on this list too. I just think this comes down to the fact that she did take a lot of 2024 off. Now, at one point I was worried she wasn't going to be put in here at all because it is out of sight, out of mind. But there are just some wrestlers in this world that do not deserve to be ignored. Because do not forget of all the amazing stuff Lynch has done. I mean, nobody was bigger in the entire wrestling world at one point, and she was essentially leading the WWE. And that doesn't happen by fluke. It's because she had become the girl. Or no, it's because she become the man. She also has so many good matches under her belt, and while I am going back a little bit too far, go and rewatch that WrestleMania 40 bout she had with Rhea Ripley. Becky essentially did that when she had the flu. I mean, that one will never make any sense. 2 + 2 = potato. So, of course, she has come back to WWE, and you just know this run is going to be as good as all the other ones. And who doesn't want to work with Becky Lynch? You essentially get to wrestle a superstar. Number 26, Willow Nightingale. Willow Nightingale is a delight because she is a babyface who gets cheered like a babyface. And that sounds like a daft thing to say, but at one point it didn't exist. Now, back in 2023, it became very obvious that, wait a minute, she's pretty good in the ring. And in 2024, she was given more microphone time and that was it. There was no going back. You just wanted to cheer for her, and she was very good at getting sympathy. And the really exciting part is that we're only just getting started here, because every time Nightingale is put in a high-profile match, all of a sudden it seems like there's even more in the tank. When we finally do pull the trigger, hot damn, where does it end? I mean, you just know that eventually she is going to become the AEW Women's Champion. If we don't do that, what are we doing? And do not forget that hardcore street fight with Chris Statlander that happened a few months ago. I mean, the fact you have that in your arsenal, and then you can cut a promo and just smile. I mean, to use a line from RVD, that is one of a kind. Number 25, Carl Fletcher. Now, Carl Fletcher gets into his 25th position because he took his push in 2024 and was like, oh, well, thanks very much, mate. I'm going to make the most of it. He did. I mean, his promos and actions got him booed out the building, but he also went and got super jacked. I appreciate that. He decided to tick all the boxes. He also never has bad matches, and he is another wrestler that has just set himself up for the future. Because if he keeps doing what he is doing when it is contract season, well, he's going to be the prettiest girl at the ball. Everybody is going to want to take him for a dance. I really do think that when the time is right as well, he could turn babyface and make that work too, because he does have quite the story. And listen, if modern wrestling does lean on this style, well, there are only a few people doing it better than Kyle. The man is absolutely brilliant. Number 24, Athena. Now listen, you do not smash Ring of Honor records by accident. Because I think at the moment Athena has held that Ring of Honor Women's Championship for like 4,792 days. I may be a little bit off with that. If you do watch ROH constantly though, you know how good Athena has been. And while she has held this championship for a long ass time, she's also bringing people with her too. I mean, that relationship with Billy Starks, it rules. It's also a super duper good comeback story, because if you have heard her in interviews, the ending of Ember Moon in WWE was more than a little difficult, so she was able to reset and tell you, oh, by the way, I really do know what I'm doing. So right now, I imagine she could be on any roster in the world and find a spot for herself. And again, if we did have this magical checklist about who should be the best, well, that is a huge box to tick. It pretty much means you have something to offer to everyone. Number 23, Chris Statlander. So, let's not forget that Chris Statlander used to be an alien. What a journey. Now, I would love for Chris to get more mic time, especially as a bad guy. Because when she was heel for those few months and she started to get a little bit mad, I was like, well, damn, there's definitely something to that. And then, just sadly, she was back to being a babyface for no real reason. It just means there's untapped potential here, but also every time Statlander does have a match, do you know the feeling that is left in people's brains? Well, I think that's one of the best bouts I've seen in ages. I mean, it literally happens all of the time. Mercedes Moné was so happy with their performance, she asked for a second one. And of course, she has her Batman-Joker dynamic with Willow Nightingale. And these two could be intertwined or interchanged too. They're both as good as each other. They also offer something completely different. So this is somebody else that is just making their start, even though obviously they've been doing it for a while. When she is able to be featured with a bit more of a spotlight on her, well, there will be no stopping one Chris Statlander. Unless she has to go back to her alien planet. Totally fine. 22, Takeshita. So Takeshita is a super interesting one, because while he is one of the best wrestlers in ring in the world, he doesn't really say much. Well, this mother flubber goes and makes it work for himself. And that is because when Don Callis is doing the speaking for him, Takeshita just stands in the background, and he has more presence than at Christmas time. I mean, he's a big old lump anyway, but when he is just standing there, you can't help but look at him and go, man, I hope that guy doesn't do something, because I don't want to miss it. It's like that Simpsons joke. When he does grab the microphone as well, he only ever utters a few words, but they are totally devastating. If I was stood across the ring from him, I'd just lay down and be like, bro, just pin me. I mean, the fact that fans continue to debate whether he should be the AEW World Champion just sums it up. And just sit down and go find his last 10 matches and watch every single one. You will be laughing like a hyena, because nobody should be that skilled. He really does continue to improve as well, so there's no ceiling about where he could end up. This is a very intriguing one, because you never really know, but in terms of a talent, it's totally brilliant. Number 21, Darby Allin. He is just the realest dude in the room these days. That's why everybody loves Darby Allin. He is secretly a good talker too, because he is just unashamedly himself. Like, he is one of the individuals that can continually talk about, oh my gosh, I love AEW so much because I was never going to get an opportunity otherwise, because you can just tell he means this. He talks from his tum-tum. It also basically ties into his wrestling style, where he is willing to hurt himself to give back to the business. And once again, let's just break it down nice and effortlessly. We all know one day he is going to be AEW World Champion. Mostly, we're all fine with it. That really is incredible as well, because let's not pretend that some wrestling stereotypes haven't gone away. And no, Darby isn't the biggest of guys, but do you know what it is? It's its cliched heart. So I really do think the fans just want him to succeed, which is such a crucial point of being a wrestler. And also, who does wrestle like this guy? He's absolutely terrifying. And while this may set a few people off, if you want to call him the modern day Jeff Hardy, well, I would say you've hit it right on the head. Number 20, Zack Sabre Jr. So did you wake up today and decide you want to watch some technical wrestling? If you did, you have to watch Zack Sabre Jr. Otherwise, what the hell are you doing? I mean, nobody is doing that style any better. He mastered it to such a degree, he became the IWGP champion. Let's not sniff at that. That's absolutely incredible. Sabre is also another dude that when he cuts promos just talks like Zack Sabre, the real person, but in the modern day landscape, that's perfect. I mean, this guy's really quirky, but it makes you laugh. That almost ties into the way he works in the ring as well, so he just stands out like a sore thumb. And this dude has no intent of stopping anytime soon, and he is going to create an incredible legacy, because I don't think he ever wants to go to WWE. He's just going to grow his name outside of that pond. That sort of adds to his appeal though, and I swear, somehow he seems to make up a brand new submission move every single week. This is why wrestling is the best. Maybe Zack Sabre Jr. is able to shine that out into the world. There's no right and there's no wrong. It's whatever gets over with the fans. Number 19, MJF. The term generational talent is thrown around a lot, especially by MJF. You know what? I totally agree with that. And as ever, you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain, which is kind of what's happened to Maxwell Jacob Friedman. But he is still in his late 20s, and look at the CV he already has. You think that happens to any schmo? No, it doesn't. You gotta have the skills to back it up. It is not a fluke ever, because it was MJF that got himself mega over. And go back through AEW in 2024, Maxwell Jacob Friedman was essentially the man. I mean, he would likely be even higher in this list if he didn't take a little bit of an absence to fill Happy Gilmore too. But actually, you can use that in your pros argument too. You have to be a pretty good entertainer for Adam Sandler to go, oh hi, I want to put you in my Netflix movie. I just think people have to stop doubting how good he is. There's a weird thing that does happen on the internet, and just go and watch some of his matches he's had on Dynamite, let alone pay-per-view. Just knows what he's doing, and he is one of the best talkers in the business. I mean, who better than him? The list is pretty small. Number 18, Mercedes Moné. Well, this one will be divisive too. That just seems to be the way, no matter what Mercedes Moné does in her career. What is not up for debate, at least not in my world, is her talent in the ring. And ever since she has moved to AEW and has had more freedom to go to promotion to promotion to promotion, she is just picking opponents, and on most nights people go, well, she had the match of the night. She's also just a star because some people are, and that rhymes and it must be true. And ever since she did take back on her heel role, well, that's just Mercedes' lane. I'm not saying she can't be a babyface, but as a bad guy, my word, she's terrific. It really is still so early on in her run too, because she's barely turned 30. And once again, you just know, no matter what promotion you were running, you would want somebody like Mercedes Moné on your roster. There's nothing cooler than that, which is why she doesn't even have to be the AEW World Champion. She's the TBS champ, but people still know who does shine brightest. Very intrigued to see where she does go in the future, but right now, from a technical level, well, she's better than she ever has been. Number 17, Jey Uso. All right, so let's cause a ruckus. I'm ready with my balls of steel. I shouldn't have said that, but no, my friends. Is Jey Uso the best wrestler in the world when it comes to in-ring? Well, I just got my question and answer the wrong way round, but the answer is no, he's not. And if that is the only reason you watch professional wrestling when it comes to bell-to-bell action, you can take him out of this list. You have the power, you're He-Man. That is not how I watch professional wrestling though. I want high action, I want big moves, but I also want somebody that I can just love with all of my heart. And my gosh, Exhibit A is Jey Uso. I mean, nobody right now makes me want to run through walls as much as Jey does. And the fact that he could win a world championship, that just makes me want to do the dance of joy. So I'm not sitting there going, well, his arm drag isn't very good. I'm just going, yes, my friend, you've got to do it. At the end of the day, too, over is over. And I know the criticism, oh, he just has a catchphrase and a good entrance. But do you not think that every single wrestler would love that too? It comes back to my favorite line I've been saying for the last 10 years. That Batman game wouldn't be very good if Batman wasn't in it. Well, he's flipping in it. I mean, I'm just desperate for Jey Uso to continue on this success, and that says everything I need it to say. He's a babyface that I will on to do well. I mean, what else do you need, man? I mean, probably quite a lot. What do I know? But I'm smack banging him in this list. Number 16, Io Sky. Is Io Sky one of the best wrestlers on the planet? Yes. I think she is. Now, the best part of her act is that she's been able to switch from heel to babyface without really doing much of anything, but that's because we all watch on when she is in the ring. We all think the same thing, and that rhymes once again. She's just so damn good. Guy's also somebody that can say very little, but somehow feel like she's delivered a massive monologue, and she really is somebody that you can't explain. Some people have it, she has it. It really does feel like WWE is about to build on this even more as the months go by. Honestly, play a game with me. Think of any women's wrestler in your head right now, and then complete that with versus Io Sky. You just got excited, right? That's the whole point. 15, Bianca Belair. Now, you can't walk around calling yourself the EST, one of which is bestest, unless you can back it up in the ring. My gosh, Bianca Belair does that all the time. Now, her recent run has been helping Jade Cargill out in the tag team division, but that just goes to show how much faith management has in her. But nobody else gets into a square circle and makes wrestling look this effortless. I mean, we'll just use that term again. She's born to do it. She's also so damn likable, which is why I hope she does get back into the singles division soon and go after the World Championship, because you get those feelings in your titsy toes. You're like, Bianca, you gotta do it, and you gotta do it for all of us. So there is just a real authentic quality to her work. WWE must be so happy they have her on the books. I mean, I can't find a negative with Bianca Belair. She does it all. Number 14, Seth Rollins. WWE's MVP, as far as I'm concerned, and they have had some rockety roads over the last few years, and if it wasn't for Seth doing what he was doing, well, who the flub knows where we'd be today. He is also another guy that can just do whatever you ask of him, which is why all that debacle in 2019 still irks me. He didn't deserve it. But what did Seth Rollins do? He figured it out, and he came out swinging. It's basically why you can move him to wherever you want in this list, but he will still feature. And while I do enjoy the fact he embraces goofy wrestling, when he does want to cut a serious promo, hot damn, plug me in. As soon as he hangs up his boots, he will go right into the Hall of Fame too, which is kind of ludicrous because I think he still has way more to give. This is another person that is underrated. We need to put more love on his name. Number 13, Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley is a star. I mean, just go and watch how non-wrestling fans react to her. I don't think that's happening by accident. Watching her evolve into the Nightmare as well has been so damn inspiring because she has become unashamedly herself, and you can just tell how comfortable she is in her skin. Think of the message that is sending out to millions of people. She's also awesome in the ring, and I truly think brings the best out of others. Don't forget she can do all the sports entertainment stuff too. Go back to 2024 with Dominic Mysterio and Liv Morgan. That story was awesome. The best part with Ripley too is that this is just the start. And I genuinely think she could reach John Cena levels. We will have to wait and see. Number 12, Drew McIntyre. Now Drew McIntyre should be in the top 10. It's just my 2 cents. A man who decided to own 2024 even though he wasn't able to wrestle matches in the mega feud he was in. He was the walking epitome of what you can do as a superstar. I mean, we know he's always going to give it when he does go ding, 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 and he has a fight, but social media, promos, just making you feel like wrestling is real. I mean, he did absolutely everything. It was also his desire to speak the truth while also understanding that he's meant to be a heel, meant he came across like a wonderful asshole, and he was one of the innovators of, by the way, I've watched the show, and you can say whatever you want to me, but I remember what you did 2 years ago, and you guys are a couple of dicks. So if we were going to break wrestling down and understand that it is made up of multiple concepts, Drew McIntyre would probably be in the top 2 of all of them. It really has been incredible to see how he's reinvented himself. He also comes across as a real person when he's doing promos, which is something we keep chatting about. That is what has happened in the modern day of pro wrestling, and when Drew McIntyre speaks, I just think it's Drew McIntyre speaking. So much so, I still believe he totally hates CM Punk. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't, but he made me believe, man. While I keep coming back to this point, that's all you need when it comes to professional wrestling. If you can forget that it is essentially a story, somebody is doing some flubbing good work. Number 11, Hangman Adam Page. And if we were going to flip it over to AEW and find somebody else that could do that, but it's absolutely the Cowboy. I mean, it is really apt that we are talking about Hangman Adam Page at the moment, because in 2025, he even asked Swerve Strickland for forgiveness, or at least he hinted at that. You can't get away with it unless you have layers to your character. That's basically all Hangman does. Page is also such a good wrestler that fans are always chanting he needs to be higher up in the card. And you're right, I agree with you. He should be going after the AEW World Championship at all times. He's also an OG member of the roster, and time again, he just shows us what else he can do. Think of all the different stories he has been through. And has he ever dropped the ball? No, he hasn't. Page can also cut all manner of promos, and I suppose the best term to use for him is an all-rounder. He can be shoved wherever you want him to be, and he's just going to make it work. What a flipping brilliant pro wrestler. Number 10, Roman Reigns. So here is some controversy as we get into the top 10, but let's make something very clear. Roman Reigns is probably the biggest star in pro wrestling right now. You've also got to give him huge credit for overcoming years of bad booking to finally become the person that WWE always wanted him to be. And the man moves the needle. If you announce the tribal chief for your show, numbers are going up. He always has to be in the top 10, although he has become quite a divisive figure, because Roman has basically recreated what he thinks a wrestling match should be, and some individuals are like, oh my gosh, the aura in the cinema, and other people are like, man, he just plods around a bit. So I'll be honest with you, I totally love them, because when you are creating a masterpiece, you don't need to rush. Whatever you think though, somebody doesn't get a 1,316-day WWE title reign for fun, and look, just go watch the fans when he does make his entrance. I'm pretty sure 95% of them are in love with him. He's also become one of those superstars, much like a John Cena, a Steve Austin, or The Rock. Just to repeat myself, that doesn't happen by mistake. So sure, if you want to bump him up a few numbers, you totally can. Roman Reigns is the absolute man. Number 9, Sami Zayn. Because he just doesn't get his due for how versatile he is, for how smart he is, and for how creative he is. Genuinely, Sami Zayn is one of the best wrestlers in the world. I mean, this is somebody who was fighting Johnny Knoxville in a classic comedy match at one WrestleMania, when he went on to main event the thing, and fans weren't like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. They supported him in phase 1, and they loved him in phase 2. He is also the absolute king of getting the most out of every single moment, and his current version of Sami Zayn is just Sami Zayn. That's meant fans are even more into him now than they ever have been. I mean, he has friends, he tries to do the right thing, he can kick you ass. He's the ultimate babyface. The creative side of his brain is just made for wrestling too, which I guess is summarized at WrestleMania 40, because even though we had a crazy 2 days, a lot of people were like, yeah, Sam versus Gunther was the match of the weekend. And I know that is a while ago, but once again, if you are causing that conversation, well, you're pretty damn good. He's also another person that cuts the best realistic promos ever. I'm convinced that this just is Sami Zayn. That's probably because he's exactly who he is. Number 8, Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega is the best wrestler in the world. So why isn't he number 1? Well, mostly because he had to take most of 2024 off because he almost died. Now, if it was anybody else, they'd probably be a bit lower in this list. But given that he marched back into wrestling and had a classic with Gabe Kidd in New Japan, and then had an absolutely entertaining match with Brian Cage on Dynamite, well, you just gotta put him in the top 10. He also pulled out a Match of the Year contender when he teamed with Will Ospreay at Grand Slam. I mean, what can't he do? Kenny is also totally deserving of being called a game changer because again, go through his career. And some people go, well, he can't cut a good promo. My ass. I mean, Omega either comes across as the most down-to-earth interviewee ever, or he goes totally nuts, and both are super duper compelling, which kind of sums him up as a person altogether. When he does walk away and we go in-depth in his career, this is going to be so clear to see. Because honestly, maybe I've already said this, now I'm saying it again, there isn't one hole in his game. I'm a little scared too that he's about to improve now, because he does have a bee in his bonnet. So what the hell are we going to do if we do revisit this list? Kenny Omega really is the absolute dude. Number 7, Toni Storm. Right now, Toni Storm is the best all-rounder in all of women's wrestling. And what really sold this for me is when she was doing her old-school Toni Storm gimmick and shot those vignettes that were a bit like a sitcom. I mean, they could have been really terrible, but they weren't. They're some of the best videos I've ever seen in wrestling. Storm is also capable of being confusing, funny, real, and terrifying where she wants to be. And also, let's not get it wrong here, she is brilliant in the ring. I mean, Toni's got speed, she hits hard, and we do not give her enough credit for some near falls. She is like, ironically, the queen of doing the 1-2 oohs, and the amount of times I've bitten on a bullet that didn't even exist. The gimmick has helped no end, of course, but do not forget an idea is just an idea. If you can't execute it in the real world, you may as well leave it on a piece of paper. But she took this persona, and in terms of personality shifts, this could be the best one of all time. It also means she has kind of changed the game when it comes to women's wrestling, and as I do have words coming out of my mouth right now, I really do not think there's another better female performer in the world. Number 6, CM Punk. Nobody will ever agree on this, but that's why CM Punk is so great. That man is an anomaly. Because the people that don't like him are feverish with it, but the people that do support him, my gosh, they will run through mountains for this man. They're totally infatuated. There's also nobody else like Punk right now, but that's what makes him so damn captivating. Anytime he walks out on TV, you kind of get the heebie-jeebies, because you're like, I don't actually know what he's going to do. So that is just perfect for a performer, and if we do look back at his 2024, he wasn't able to wrestle because he was injured, And yet by the end of the year, he'd still have one of the matches of that 12-month period, because that Hell in a Cell fight was amazing. He also has random matches with the likes of Sami Zayn too, and that came across like a 90s old school wink wink banger banger, have some fun. Honestly, I just think CM Punk was born for wrestling, and wrestling is better with CM Punk in it. We don't even need to talk about his promos, because that's like me trying to explain why breathing is important. And I honestly don't think there will ever be another person like CM Punk. The man is just so unique. It really does get better like a fine wine. Number 5, Gunther. Now Gunther deserves his spot here, because he used to be called Walter. Can you think of anybody else that could go through such a name change and just be like, meh, shrug emoji, and actually use that to fly himself up the card? I think that list is going to be very short. I mean, you've even got dudes like The Undertaker saying, oh my gosh, Gunther is the man. And Triple H is clearly aware of this. Look at all the accolades he has ranked up. Deep down, we all feel the same about this too, because you tell me a time when Gunther has won a championship and we didn't all nog along like dogs going, I totally agree. I mean, he also calls himself the Ring General, so he has to back that up in the ring, and he does this every single time. And when it comes to legitimacy, Gunther may be number 1. He also cuts the best promos because he will run you down and make out like it's not an opinion, and it is a statement of fact, and talk about someone that can play heel and babyface. He just switches depending on who he's facing. I mean, the fact that he has been the WWE World Heavyweight Champion and nobody complains, but it's 2025 and that never happens, and this is just the start for this guy. And also, let's not pretend at one point when Vince McMahon was in charge, he didn't understand Gunther, and that is totally ridiculous, and dare I say is stupid. By the time Gunther is done, he is going to be someone we talk about for years. Number 4, Kevin Owens. So he is my modern day GOAT, I've said this before, and recently I've started to ponder, he could be in my top 3 favorite wrestlers ever. Watch this space. Kevin Owens has just flown the last few years though, and the only missing piece of the puzzle was the fact he wasn't able to win the WWE title for a second time, but man, he is doing such good work. Could be in the cards. Owens once again takes that term all-rounder and just lifts it up to a brand new level, because he can cut promos, he can wrestle, he can be a good guy, he can be a bad guy, he can be scary, he can be terrifying, he can be funny. I mean, you don't want to be his friend because he'll stab you in the back. That just adds to his character too. And even when he's not at the top of the card, he still makes you give a damn. But then also he did have a main event program with Cody Rhodes, and that was flubbing brilliant too. Owens may also be the tippity top guy when it comes to taking the past and using it to shape his future, and he just comes across like such a real dude. I mean, there's no holes in his game, to use that catchphrase again. Somehow, he has improved recently, which is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, he was pretty damn good to begin with, and now, well, I tell you, my friends, as far as I'm concerned, he is totally untouchable. Number 3, Swerve Strickland. Now, Swerve Strickland could be number 1 for sure. There is something to that man. I tell this story all the time, but I first noticed it after he had been released from WWE, and he was performing on some indies over here in the UK, and the way that he adapted to his opponent, he was like a flubbing chameleon. And ever since that, well, he's proved the same thing to everybody else. He really is something special up close as well, because he's like a puzzle cracker. I don't know what that means, but it doesn't matter what is presented to him, he is going to figure it out and make it work for the audience. Recently, he transformed into a proper main eventer too, as he won the AEW World Championship and got super jacked. And nobody complained about this, which brings us back to that point. If you're able to achieve that in 2025, you must be really good at what you do. He also fell into this role and he's never looked back. So I guess to use modern day terms, Swerve Strickland is the wrestling unicorn. He's a master of being a good guy and a bad guy, and it actually doesn't matter what feud he is in, because it's Swerve that brings the importance to the program. You always want to know what he's going to do next. He's also turned himself into a monster recently, because you can't control his actions. And I tell you, if he carries on this wavelength, he absolutely will be untouchable. He's already one of the best wrestlers in the world. Number 2, Will Ospreay. So somehow this pick will piss people off, and that's totally cool. You're allowed your opinions. But let's just look at it factually, man. There is no one else on this planet right now like William Ospreay. This is because he is so damn special. And let's not forget this, which makes it even more interesting. Will is most definitely a top guy, although he never actually beats anybody easily. And that is because he ensures every single match is a fight for his life, and you can't help but buy into that. I mean, if you do want to compare wrestling to sports, well, you see that all the time, and he is able to bring that to sports entertainment. He also has the energy and the passion, and the fans go crazy for him. So once again, if you're actually desperate for wrestling to be legitimate, Will Ospreay may be the best guy for it. And yes, I know he goes flippy-dippy-doo-dah, but two statements can be true. I think that's why he is so great. He merges all this together. Nobody else can hit the go button like him either. And he has basically recreated or come up with this wrestling style. And the only analogy that I can come up with is that he is the wrestling Pep Guardiola. Yes, this is a football soccer reference. But Pep Guardiola joined Man City and all of a sudden everybody had to play out for the back, even if you weren't very good at playing out for the back. And now everybody watches Will Ospreay and they're so amazed. They're like, well, why would we do anything else? We have to copy him. I do believe that's called a trailblazer. Will's selling makes you panic as well, because you think he is going to die. And the one criticism people threw at him was he's not going to be able to cut American-style promos. And surprise, surprise, he sorted that out in a week. Because once again, he's another one of these dudes. He is unashamedly Will Ospreay. Every single word coming out of his mouth feels absolutely real. Now, of course, you can take that or leave that depending on what your tastes are. But let's look at it another way. How many times has Will Ospreay fought an opponent and the headlines the next day are, oh my gosh, this opponent just had their best match ever? That ain't no fluke, man. That's the magic of Will Ospreay. And I tell you, there is nobody else like him. There probably never will be again. Number 1, Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes is the guy. He is the top babyface in the biggest wrestling company in the world. He flipping did it. Now, while Roman Reigns was certainly responsible for shooting WWE into this territory, it was Cody that took the ball off him. And he was like, don't worry about this, pal. And he took the finances, he took the records, and he took the gate receipts, and he basically just kept increasing it. That was his job, and he totally smashed it. I mean, the 2025 Royal Rumble was the most watched WWE pay-per-view ever. And sure, that record will break soon, but a fact is a fact. And I know we're talking about right now, but Cody has been doing this for the last few years. Because ever since he jumped back to WWE, aside from that unfortunate pec tear, he really has been one of the highlights of the company. I mean, top feuds, top matches, headlining WrestleManias, emotional promos, and a fan base that loves him. Which means we're here again. He's a full-on good guy. He tells you, I just want to be nice, and we don't boo that. We go, damn it, Cody, we're with you. It's not like he's going to slow down at any point too, and Cody Rhodes is another guy. He has so many people he can feud with. That gets you excited in your Tootsie Toes. It's just what he brings to the table, and Cody is now leading the charge. I kind of already said this, but let's just use 2025 language. Even if you do want to debate it, the American Nightmare could walk in and go, ha ha, I've got the receipts, and my gosh, there's a lot of money on the table. So in many ways, Cody has broken one tradition while resetting another one, but to be the person pushing WWE forward during this incredible time, well, we should all bow down and thank that man, because to sum it up as best as I can, there is no one better than Cody Rhodes right now in the whole flipping world. Now listen, you're gonna have loads of thoughts about this, so please do drop me a comment below before liking the video, sharing the video, and subscribe. If you'd like more, if this was a long old video, click the video on the screen, but otherwise, my friends, I appreciate you, and as nerdy as this makes me sound, I like and respect every single wrestler in the world, because they're out there busting their asses. Thank you very much for that. See you soon.